All right, so let's start in 2007. Fedor was 27-1, was the baddest man on the planet, guaranteed, everybody knew. And also Anderson Silva was just clearing out the middleweight division in the UFC and just getting in the conversation of the best fighter in the planet, pound for pound. Anderson Silva and Fedor were the greatest fighters. The spotlight was on them. Meanwhile, in the heavyweight division in the UFC, the crown was between Randy Couture and Tim Sylvia. Randy Couture beat up Tim Sylvia for 25 minutes straight to be crowned the heavyweight champion. But in Pride had Fedor, Minotauro, known in America as Big Nog, Kevin Randleman, Mirko Krokop, Mark Coleman. The best of the world was in Pride for the heavyweight division for sure, at least. But Pride got in some trouble. Rumors that he got in with the Yakuza and fixing up fights and stuff. So pretty quickly, Pride lost a couple TV deals. And in less than 1 year, Pride was done. Ended. And UFC actually bought Pride. So the heavyweights started spreading out. Big Nog went to the UFC and fought Tim Sylvia for the interim belt. Randy Couture was still the champion, but Randy Couture has some contractual disagreements with Dana White. Dana White would be proven to be a very hard to deal guy, right? To his credit, he completely changed the game, but he really had a vision for the UFC and for MMA, and he wouldn't budge. So whoever was in his way of his vision for the UFC was out. So for that reason, Randy Couture was out of the UFC, at least temporarily. And one of the reasons that Randy Couture was out is because Dana couldn't sign Fedor. Maybe because Dana was so hard to deal with. Fedor would never sign with the UFC ever to this day. And Randy wanted to fight Fedor too, so he wasn't happy about that. So Big Nog claimed the title against Sylvia with a guillotine in the third round. But we all wanted Fedor. We wanted to see Fedor, UFC or not. So just to paint the picture, Fedor was 27-1. His one loss was in the year 2000 against Tsuyoshi Kosaka. It was a technical knockout because of a cut on his eyebrow. The show didn't allow elbows. Like at 6 seconds in the first round, Kosaka went for a punch, glazed the elbow on Fedor's eyebrow. They stopped it. Fedor was only 4-0 at that time too, 24 years old, and it was like a tournament style. So whoever won went to the next phase, and for that reason he lost. Let's just move up the Japanese guy that didn't get cut, so he can fight the finals. Anyways, back to 2008. Fedor was the man. Everybody knew. We just wanted to see him in the UFC against Randy Couture, preferably, or against Minotauro again, even though that already happened 3 times with 2 wins for Fedor and 1 no contest. But we wanted to see Fedor with the best competition in the world, no matter what. But Dana White couldn't do it, and that's when Donald Trump comes in. Yeah, Donald Trump comes in with Oscar De La Hoya and Affliction. So Donald Trump and Oscar De La Hoya teamed up with Affliction Clothing, which was a brand that sponsored Randy Couture, George St. Pierre, Cain Velasquez. So they put a lot of money together and started their own MMA show. And being a former, or until that point being a sponsor in the UFC, Dana didn't like that very much, cut him right away. So their first show was named after that, just to raise a little controversy. It was Affliction Banned. That show would happen in the night of July 19th of 2008. Really historic night for MMA. Trump also couldn't give us Fedor against Couture. So he gave us the next best thing. Sylvia had just lost to Couture and to Minotauro, so he was like the next opponent that wasn't in the UFC. Affliction on the first show came out blazing. $3.3 million just in fighter pay, just for the fighters in 2008. That's unheard of. Tim Sylvia got paid $800,000 to fight Fedor. They probably couldn't sign him for $300,000 for sure. They couldn't sign him for $400,000, make him resign from the UFC. They gave him $800,000. So unnecessary to say that Dana wasn't really happy with his former sponsor. And that was right at the time, like I said, that Anderson Silva is becoming the best of the world as well. And he just cleared up the middleweight division. He just beat Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson is another refugee from Pride. Dan Henderson came from Pride with 2 belts, champ status. Fought Anderson in UFC 82, and Anderson murdered him. Beat him on the feet, took his back, choked him. There were no more middleweights for Anderson, so Dana makes him debut in the light heavyweight division for the first time in his career ever against knockout artist James Irvin on July 19th, same night of Affliction Band, and also live and free on Spike TV. On open television, no pay-per-view, just to spoil Affliction's 15 minutes of fame. Also, July 19th of 2008, I myself got invited to a birthday party of my hot classmate, and I was 15, and everybody in my year had their hormones exploding, and it was a costume party. I was guaranteed to French kiss on that night, on that party, which is like the equivalent to getting laid to a 15-year-old. It didn't cross my mind going to the party. At that point, I was watching every UFC show live anyways, and it was my first time ever seeing Fedor live. So July 19th, I have UFC here on one side on the television, and Affliction Band on the computer on a very illegal and unstable streaming. I was freaking pumped. UFC main event goes first. Anderson Silva and James Irvin. Fight starts. They're both just around, looking at each other. Nothing thrown. In 1 minute into the first round, James Irvin throws the first strike, a low kick to Anderson Silva's leg. Anderson Silva catches it, throws a punch, boom, knocks out James Irvin to the ground. Like a punch right here between the nose and the mouth doesn't usually knock someone out, not the chin or the temple. James Irvin falls to the side, fetal position, don't want to fight anymore. Mario Yamazaki is like, I don't know, keep going. And Silva lands 2 ground and pound strikes. One of them opens a gash this size on James Irvin's eye. 1 minute, 1 punch. Light heavyweight debut, 1 weight class above his own. Dude just showed to be the best of the world. So there I am, 15-year-old me jumps on the couch, and I was just really, really impressed with Anderson Silva's skills. And I thought it would be really hard for Fedor to overcome that. Now here, illegal streaming, I'm watching legendary, most hyped fight of the year, most hyped main event of the year. Beautiful ring, beautiful show. They brought Megadeth metal band to perform between the fights, throwing away money, right? The legendary Michael Buffer, Bruce Buffer's brother. He's the famous let's get ready to rumble. You know, everything was epic. You could feel history being made as Affliction's main event approached. They're going over the rules. Fedor, Silva here. It's about to start. They're gonna start going, and my connection falls. And at the time, I had this friend that was watching too. He had no idea what was going on, had no idea what MMA was really. Just my streaming failed, not my actual connection. So I'm talking to him, and he's like, "Yo, what the fuck? The fat boy is swarming him with punches, and then it's over. It's over already." And I'm like, "Nah, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're fucking with me." My streaming comes back on, and it was over. So I'm like, I half dazzled with Fedor because it was 30 seconds into the first round. So I'm like dazzled, like, how can this guy be? And my other half is banging my head on the keyboard for not seeing it. But then the replay comes. I calm down a little bit. I watched the fight, and I'm like, okay, I watched it, and that was it. So in the replay, I see, and then I watched this fight like 2,000 times. Tim Silva tie clinches Fedor. Fedor just grabs the back of the head, uppercut, hook, uppercut. Tim Silva falls on his knees. He goes behind him, boom, 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 takes his back, chokes him. 36 seconds. So Anderson, 1 round, 1 weight class above, 1 punch. Fedor, not 1 weight class above, because when you're heavyweight you can go up, but former UFC champion. Randy Couture took 25 minutes to beat him, couldn't finish him. Minotaur finished him in the 3rd round after getting beat up pretty much for 10 minutes. Fedor just kills this guy in 36 seconds. So, end of story. Fedor is still the GOAT. Anderson Silva is also the GOAT. Gabe's still a virgin. And July 19th of 2008 was the most historic fight for MMA fans all over the world. And you must be asking yourself, Affliction MMA? Hey, I heard of the clothing, but I never heard of the show. So Affliction, after being born huge already, 2.5 shows after, it would come to an end. If you want to know all about that, check out my next video. I'm gonna put it here somewhere or in the description. How it ended, why it ended, and it has a lot to do with this guy right here. This guy right here, Josh Barnett. He was like the last thing that made Affliction die, but it was probably due to the throwing money away thing too. That's it. That was a cool story. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me tell cool stories of MMA. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching. Holla.